Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Resto Mod Daisy. We're going to do a short video today talking about where we're at in the restoration and modification of Daisy firearms and give the viewing public a bit of an idea about where we're going to go. We like to work in Red Ryder platforms or small Daisy platforms. I've got a fairly good representation of Red Ryders on the table here, and I wanted to cover a couple of technical issues and differences between the guns, even though they are still so similar. Here at the bottom is one of our candidates that's in the process of being modded. It's already got the sliding spring block. It's got the flex lever without the leather insert installed. This is an original number 111 Model 40 buttstock, complete with the imprint of the fella who developed the character of Red Ryder. It's mounted on the older guns on the left side of the buttstock. The newer guns have it featured on the right side. It's one of the minor changes Daisy has made over the years. Now, one thing you'll notice about all of these guns, and these two are similar guns. The 11140 original down here is exactly the same gun as this model 11140, even though that gun looks so much different and behaves so much differently than the original design did. This gun was followed by the Model 94, which is up here. They made this as a Red Ryder 55 to 61. And 62 or so, they introduced the 1938, which in terms of the receiver is the same across the platforms. The receiver never really changed. The big change that came about was when they went from the low pivot lever to the high pivot lever. Now, this changed the amount of energy it takes to arm the gun, made it easier for a young shooter to actually shoot the gun, and was carried through to the 1938, to the 1938A, the 1938AB, and the 1938B. So all the guns that were built early 70s on have a high pivot lever. All the guns prior to that have low pivot levers. Now, the low pivot lever has the advantage of having a shorter cocking stroke. The drawback is the lower pivot lever is a lot harder to work. So in order to encourage young shooters, engineering efforts were made to reduce the amount of energy you needed to cock the gun. But by and large, across the brands and across the band, the gun stayed the same. Internal mechanisms haven't changed very much at all. 94 has one unique feature for a Daisy. It has the flip peep sight. Isn't that cool? You can flip it up and it's a peep sight, and you can flip it down and it's a buckhorn sight. Now, the other cool thing about the Daisy Flip Peep is it is actually adjustable for windage and elevation. That's a feature in the rear sight that you don't get on any other Daisy, because they took it off because I'm sure it was more expensive to manufacture. So the 94, if you'll notice, has exactly the same receiver length, exactly the same compression tube area, and exactly the same muzzle as the rest of the Daisy crew. The only other exception is it has a hook front sight. You'll notice that stands up quite a bit more than the front sight on a 1938. Now, a lot of the rationale for that difference in front sights is because of the difference in the rear sight. If you've got a buckhorn that's up way higher on the receiver than on other guns, then you're going to have to jack the front sight up in order to get it to hit true. I like these guns. The 94s are kind of neat because they've got a few features that the rest of the Daisy Red Ryders don't have. Flip peep is one of them. And let's travel down to the muzzle end and we'll take a look at the other thing. You've got that hook front, which is cool, and the ability to put a sling on it, because this barrel band has a sling point. And more than one of these guns I've seen with raggedy rope slings, handmade slings of various descriptions on them, because, hey, it's nothing cooler than being able to throw your rifle on your shoulder as you're tromping through the woods. So the 94 was a departure. It was produced from 55 to 61, and then discarded after that because of the introduction of the 1938. Now, this gun was in production until the 1938 A, B, and Bs showed up in the late 70s. And the whole thing was done because of the trigger. The original triggers on these guns are very simple. They're pressed metal affairs. They have a simple spring attached to the buttstock. It's a robust system. It works, but it doesn't have a safety. And they couldn't figure out a way to make a metal trigger with a safety, so they invented a plastic trigger that's far more complex, far less reliable, and has a lot more jitter and skate than any of these old metal trigger guns that I've messed with have. But still, lawyers get involved. That's what happens. So that's part of the product evolution. And what we're going to do here at Rest on My Daisy is we have continued our product revolution as well, and evolution. This is the best gun I've ever built. The 11140 with the sliding spring block and the ability to swap power springs so that you can get a very light shooting, fast cycling gun, or a really cranky, hard to cock, but powerful air gun that'll punch holes in anything just about. I've gone from the shotgun style buttstocks that I've done since I started messing with daisies to these Tyrolean-ish stocks with the hook butts. They just feel better to me and they look better overall. The billet levers will continue to evolve. I've gone from thick and chunky to wide and fat to thick and chunky and back and forth several times. We currently do not use the QD sling swivels on the new guns that we produce. What we do is build our own swivel installed on the lever itself. A little cleaner look. You know, it's also continues with the theme that we should make it if it's not original parts. So this is the kind of gun you'll see from me in the future. And this is an example of a gun that's going to start like this and end up like that. So that's our little video talk today, kids. This is Shane Bruce with Rest on My Daisy signing off.